Hello, I'm here with Flor Blanchett today from the Weston office of the Kai's Company. Flor, I know that you came into real estate in 2003 and you had a tremendous year that year, but I want to go back before that. I know you were in business for many years before that. Could you tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to get into real estate?
Yes, years ago I used to be in business for myself. I run a company importing cut flowers, and after working very hard for many years, I decided that it was time for a change, maybe get a real job where I would get paid on time. And so I went to work for a global company. And at the time they were expanding in Latin America, and I was doing some due diligence for new locations and dealing with executives coming into the area. So I was calling realtors I knew in the area, and I was also dealing with mortgage brokers. And so we got them all placed, and eventually after 5-6 years the company decided to relocate to outside the country, and I was out of a job. So then I went to work for another major company, which was later acquired by a Dutch concern. Also dealing with people coming from all parts of the world. I was assisting them with their local needs and so forth, also referring them to realtors and to mortgage brokers and so forth. So I decided, well, I've always wanted to be in real estate. My father was a real estate attorney, and I always followed the real estate market in South Florida, which has always been very exciting. And then I got my license and joined the Kai's Company, which was always the idea I had. When I always said, if I go into real estate, I'm going to join the Kai's Company for its reputation. And so that's what I did, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Very good. I know in Flor's first year, she had a tremendous year in terms of volume and success. You had over $8 million in volume. Marketing was a tremendous part of that. How did you brand yourself?
Yes. I did very well. I'm a product of your first Sudden Success class, and I did everything you told us we should do. And I always felt that marketing was very important, because having been in a totally different business and coming into real estate to a small city, I felt that it was important to brand myself, to put my face out there and let everybody know that I was in the business, and started getting listings. And I started to promote the listings in the various trade magazines, and that worked out very, very well. So I probably spent too much money that first year, because I really wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I was in real estate. But it worked, and I did extremely well.
I want to ask you a question. I know years ago we went to, it was about 4 years ago, I guess, we went to dinner one evening with you in Kingsley. And I wanted to ask you a question. This may be a little personal, but how do you balance your business life and real estate and your husband's and your family life?
He's very patient. He's very patient. He deals with all these last-minute appointments and late phone calls from people who need service, and so he understands. He has his own license.
Oh, he did get his license?
He got his license so he could help me. However, he's a consultant. He's actually an accountant, but he's a consultant for a company, and so he has major responsibilities. But he's great support, and he really understands. And so he's in that sense, he's a great asset to me, and allows me to be able to devote all the hours.
Right.
Many times I work Saturdays, other times I may work on Sundays, and he's always very supportive. And so that's great help.
That's fantastic. One of the programs that we have within the Kai's Company is our Field Trainer Coach program. And from the very beginning, Flor has been a member of that and one of our top coaches in the company, taking on new associates and the responsibility of helping them to become successful. I'd like to ask you, what do you train them? How do you train them? What do you say to them?
When when they come to me, we go over many things. I always tell them that they need to understand that being in real estate is like being a dentist or a doctor or an accountant, and the analogy I use is, if you were to open a shoe store, you would need to have all the shelves stacked with shoes, boxes of shoes. The same goes for listings. When you're in real estate, you need to build up your inventory and have enough properties out there so that people will call you, because that will allow you to get buyers and sellers and renters and what have you, but this is the basis. It's not easy. It's a tough business, and you have to be prepared. You have to educate yourself. You have to be well trained. Kai's Companies is wonderful in training its new associates, and this is why I so enjoy when I have a deal with another Kai's associate, because I know that that person has been so well trained and that it will be a very nice transaction. But going back to my trainees, I also share with them in whatever it is I'm doing. I let them look at my files, and I explain to them all the different steps in my different deals I may have going on.
So they participate in your transactions
And they
as well?
participate to the extent that they're observers. Sometimes and I share with them all the different challenges that come up when you have deals going on. I also sometimes will say, why don't you make a couple of phone calls to schedule a showing for me? And I do it not because I cannot do it, but because it's good exposure for them, and it kind of makes them feel comfortable with it. And I've had some great trainees that have gone on to be really great producers. So I'm very pleased, and I really enjoy that part of the business.
You mentioned stocking the shelves, as an example, in a shoe store. And I know when we first come into the business of real estate, you have to do that. You have to have your listings. And now you're probably getting, and I'm sure you are, a lot of referral business. But at the very beginning, you had to prospect. How did you do that?
I did everything you taught me to do.
That was many years ago. I don't know what I told you to do.
I sent out cards, I knocked on doors, I made phone calls, I called expires, referrals. I did just about everything. I remember in my neighborhood, one Sunday I asked one of the little boys in the neighborhood if he would be willing to accompany me as I went knocking on doors, because I felt that if there was a little child with me who was known in the neighborhood, that they would be willing to open the door, which I did. And I remember I knocked on this lady's door, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad. I didn't know that you were a realtor and that you lived on the street." She says, "I've been thinking of selling my home." And so I got a $475,000 listing, which I later sold shortly thereafter. And so that's my great experience. Also, my very first listing I got from a for sale by owner. At lunch hour one day, I went around knocking on doors, and that was my very first listing. And from that, I still have customers from that time that I do business with that I got as a result of that one listing.
One of the things that has always impressed me about Flor more than anything else is lack of fear. I mean, she has the ability to prospect, people knocking on doors and doing exactly what needs to be done in real estate. Flor, I want to thank you very much for your time.
You're quite welcome.
Top producer with the Kai's Company. Thank you.
Thank you.